This is Sonatina, Frank Lynes, Opus 39, number 1. We will be analyzing this with the goal of finding quick patterns or cues, little tiny notes, with the overall goal of being able to learn, play, and perform it faster. Just speed up the learning process so we can start to make music. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to look for are measures, sections that material is repeated verbatim. Most masterpieces have material that's recycled, but we're looking particularly for repetition, so I don't have to learn 32 some odd bars that are presented here. I just want to look for the smallest sections possible so I can recognize these sections and patterns faster. So the first thing that I'm going to notice is this. So I'm starting off C major, 2-4, and then I'm just going to look through. Great, measures 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. 5 through 8 is new material. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This whole first page is new material. Nothing is repeated. I come over to the second page. Starting here, where it's sectioned off as 3, I've seen these two measures before. They are just like measures 1 and 2. Okay? I'm going to see if it continues. Yes. That looks like measure 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Copied verbatim. Great. Now this is the same as that as well. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. This was the same as that. Okay, so I stop here. That's the same. This, however, is a little different. So I'm going to circle that to show this is where the repetition ends. But everything else is copied verbatim. So I don't need to look any further, and I'm going to do this. Basically here. Well, actually, I'm going to use this instead. Stay consistent with what we did in class. From here to there is the same as the first 13 measures. All right, so same as measures 1 through 13. So I only have to learn those 13 measures once. Everything else looks like different material. Okay, so then I would go through and then look for easy patterns so I'm not bogged down by every single note. The first thing that's noteworthy is this. The first two measures is essentially a C major arpeggio going down in inversions. So I could quickly type in C major triad. So I could focus on the rhythms and the direction as opposed to isolating every single note. I know if I start on C and I go up, well, the next note in the C major triad is an E. Great. Then I go back down to a C. Then I go down again. It's a G. All the C major triad. Great. Then, from here to here, this is the C major 5-finger pattern. Now, even though I don't go all the way up to the G, I can see that my thumb starts here on the C. C, D, E, F, E, D, C, using the fingering from C major, 5-finger. The only thing I need to pay special attention to, which I will circle, is this guy here. I just proceed it with a B right below, and I want to make sure that I target that index finger with the 2, and then repeat it again later on here. So that's easier to read, that little pattern, as opposed to B, C, D, E, F, E, F, E, B, C, D, E, F, E, D, C, B. All right. All right, here you can see that this material in measures 5 and 6 are sequenced from above, measures 1 and 2, but the notes are slightly different. So I'll read those notes, but then I want something just a little bit quicker. So I would do something like this. Hold on. There to there. There to there. Okay. And I can see that that first grouping is D minor. Then the next grouping is B diminished. And then that next grouping is just plain old G major. Then as we go on, I've got some business here, and actually I didn't mention this in class, but here is that shape. The shape is this figure here. The target tone is really that C. And what we do with it is this. You visit an upper neighbor, so you go visit your upstairs neighbor, then you come back home. Then you visit a lower neighbor, and then you come back home. And then when you do come back home, you have a C major triad, ascending and descending. So it's a good thing you've been working on that since piano 2. Okay, so that movement here that was presented with the target tone of a C, visiting an upper neighbor, then back home, and then your lower neighbor, that figure starts off the last part of this section. And here it is. Okay, so you're starting on the A. Make that a little bigger. Starting on the A. I used this earlier, but I'll use the rectangle now. Starting on the A, you're going to visit your upper neighbor, go back, visit your lower neighbor, and come back. Let's see if I can do this. So we're always coming back home. See how that works here? You can see that here with the A. So A, upper, back to A, oops, lower, back to the A. Always returning. So you go above, below, back home. Then that figure is repeated, sequenced down by step. So A, B, A, G sharp A. Now this time you go down a step, start on the same figure, starting on G. Then you start that figure on F, and then E, and then D, and then C. So that figure is sequenced down. Let me show you the relationship here. Different color. So that's coming from there. This figure, this motif, is now sequenced by whole step, descending whole step. Descending. Okay, so that kind of takes out a lot of the guesswork in that section. And it's the same rhythm as well. Then there's something else in the left hand. You've got this figure. It's a false sequence, actually. First of all, let's go back to the left hand, starting from here. This is just C5 finger again. This is all 5 finger, actually. I should have. There we go. This is all 5 finger. Kind of stops right there. So there's always more to analyze, but again, I want to remind you, analysis is for you. It's very personalized. Would you need all of this? Maybe. Would you need maybe just some of it? Sure. It's whatever it takes for you to be able to learn it faster. Okay, this is 5 finger C, 5 C major, 5 finger. There we go. So starting from here with your pinky, you've got C, D, E, F. Great. Then you'll notice it has like a little, has a false sequence, meaning same figure, but it is always returning to home base or the tonic. So C, D, E, F, then back down, go down a whole step as well. So the left hand is kind of echoing that whole step descending motion while the right hand is doing it as well. And then here it changes and goes to G to C, and then slightly changes here. If you wanted to go further and did more analysis, you could do this, this. These are the same. F, A, it's just the F sharp slightly changes. So that is another false sequence. Okay, now we're here down at section 2, and I want to draw your attention to this sequence. Take a look at this figure. We've seen this before. This is that business of target tone is the B, right? So your target tone is the B. You visit an upper neighbor. So I'm going to call this, actually, because we see it so much, this would be considered motif 1. And this is very much motif 2. Okay, so motif 2 really use that material very much. It's displayed here starting on the B, visit upper neighbor, go down below, and then after that he does a G major triad. Then put that there. Oh, can't see it. G major triad, and then he takes that whole motif here of the motif 2 with the target tone visiting neighbors above and below with an arpeggio. He repeats that same motif, basically develops that motif, and now goes up by a whole step. So now you're starting on C. Same color, right? Same motif, but now he ends on a C major triad, and then he's got some filler to bridge us back to the recapitulation. Still follows that idea of that second motif, now targeting the D, starting on the D. Stepwise motion ascending to give that rising feeling to prepare us, prepare the ear. Oh, something's happening here. Okay, and now he's got this filler, as I mentioned, E, F, E, and this is basically the C major scale with a slight tweak of the G sharp. Oops, it's for filler. C major scale. Okay, all right, then Section 3, same as measures 1 through 13. I don't need to do any more analysis within those measures because it's the same as the beginning. So I will go to this section right here that I highlighted, circled. This is where it changes. Okay. But if you notice, this, even though it starts on a B, that's my target tone, it's still that same motif, isn't it? It's motif 2. So you'll eventually come up with your own shorthand, color coding maybe, if it helps. I wasn't that consistent with my color coding here. For example, I should have put all of motif 1 in pink as I started, and all of motif 2 should have been in orange. So I did in section 2 recognize motif 2. It's okay that I put it in a different color because it was actually developed with a little extension here with the arpeggio. But I'm going to stay consistent here because this is truly that second motif. Just starting on B. Can you get that? All right. And I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of that. That was for some preliminary stuff. All right, now I'm at the coda or the extension. I'm trying to end this song. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It needed 8 measures to finish. Probably cadential extension by 3 measures. If you don't know what that means, no problem. It's just review from theory 1. I'm going to use different color here. Alrighty. So the first thing I hope that you would notice is the right hand is simply a C major scale. Yay! Descending and ascending and descending. So your right hand is supposed to be on autopilot, which will serve useful because your left hand is doing, let me do this, something different. It's all C major because we're trying to get home, and it is an arpeggio, but it's a special kind of accompaniment. This is called Alberti bass. Okay, so Alberti bass basically means broken chord accompaniment, but this is a specific type of Alberti bass where it goes 1 5 3 5. Okay, so C major, and then here you can see that the notes change. You're still keeping, let me change the color here. You're still keeping that G. Okay, we've got a false sequence happening in the left hand. We just change the starting note. That's going to be different. I'm going to do this. Do this color. D. And then F. So basically the figure goes up diatonically, ascending, but that offbeat, the G, stays consistent. Okay, and if you wanted to give this a harmony, you could simply say 5/7 or G7. But it's the 5 chord, basically. It's implying the 5. Then the left hand continues. This is basically repeated. So let me go ahead and do this. I'm doing a lot more analysis than we did in class together today. You probably saw these on your own. Okay, it's repeated. I'm actually going to partition this out just a little bit more and say, okay, look. Oh no. This is repeated material. I wonder if it'll let me do this. Let's try this. Repeated. Oops. Now, again, you don't have to write all of this out. Okay. And eventually you'll be able to make these relationships. You'll be able to spot these patterns in relationships the more that you read notation, play notation, and of course do this analysis. The goal is that you're able to do this without playing a note and be able to hear it in your head already. Okay, this has nothing to do with perfect pitch, relative pitch. It's more like being able to hear the relationships you see written. Okay, we're almost done. And then we end, or not we, Lynn ended the piece with C major, and more specifically, C major first inversion in the right hand. C major over E. And that's it.